Hey! That thing got a HEMI?
Yeah.
Sweet!
This past weekend, August 2022, was the world's largest automotive event. I'm referring to the Woodward Dream Cruise. The Woodward Dream Cruise is the largest one-day auto event that has approximately 1.5 million people in participation and over 40,000 cars. And those cars can range from muscle cars to classic cars to imports to sports cars. This event stretches across Woodward and it passes through at least 5 cities. So in celebration of the Woodward Dream Cruise, I decided to do something I haven't done, which I'm surprised I haven't done it yet, which is review a muscle car. So the car I'm reviewing today is the 1971 HEMI Barracuda Super Track Pack. It comes from Acme. Acme is a subsidiary of GMP, or actually I should say it's the other way around. GMP is a subsidiary of Acme. Same company, really. But this car presents really well, and I'm glad I picked it, and enough of me talking about it. Let's get right into it.
And here we are. This is the 1971 Plymouth Barracuda HEMI Super Track Pack. The track package basically was better shocks, stiffer springs, and larger sway bars. The decal was also an option for this particular package as well. Acme or GMP have been producing some iteration of this car for many years, and so as far as the shape, it is definitely spot on. There's no issues with that at all. It's pretty darn accurate to the real deal. The paint is wonderful. It is very clear. It has a nice deep clear coat on it, and I don't see any scratches or flaws at all in the paint, so it's very good. You'll see more of that when I do the top view. Just moving on to the wheels. This came with aluminum wheels, and the materials that GMP uses really mimics aluminum for these wheels. These are plastic with a aluminized paint, so it does give that effect as if they were aluminum. It's really well done. It has a nice little reflection to it, or gloss to it, that really looks nice. So it does give the impression of a polished steel. The valve stem is there, so again, it's extremely detailed. Couldn't ask for any more for the wheels, so it's very good. The tires have the scripting, as it should. Okay, and that, of course, goes for the front and the back, so those are very accurately done. The door handle almost looks as if I could reach in and pull it open. That's how detailed that is. On some lesser brands of a Barracuda, a lot of times they leave out the outline, the aluminum outline of the venting. That is included on here as well. Very nice and accurate reflector or side marker on the front and the back. You can even see the dips where the screws would be to attach it to the body. Moving on to the front of the model. Very nice optioned fog lights that are on here. The lights are very accurate. They're straight. None of them are crooked, so that's pretty awesome. You can see that very nice grille, can accurately reproduced. Very nice. Okay. You can see that radiator hiding behind it as well. Moving on to the back. Very accurately reproduced rear end. Same thing with this package, has a blacked out back panel. Very cool license plate there. The scripting is very clear. Again, you can see it's chromed out, which it should be. It's very nice. Look at the outline. You know, Acme has been producing these for quite some time, and the amount of craftsmanship for this model it's very good. I mean, to accurately have, you know, these trim pieces, which is probably the biggest challenge for older cars when you make them as models, because you have all of very reminiscent of the cars in the 70s. You know, they didn't have plastic or rubber around the window trim. It was all silver, which means it was all metal going across, and that is here, and it looks very good. It looks very accurate. So this is a full opening model. One thing I do want to point out, which I'm surprised at, and if somebody can correct me and tell me I'm wrong, please do, but the only thing that's really odd about this model is the antenna. It's pretty darn thick. And I'm not sure why Acme did that. The only impression I can get is I do know a lot of times when you do have the thinner aerials or antennas on models, they have a tendency to break really quickly, so you have to be very careful with them. So that's maybe the reason. I definitely don't think it's a cost-cutting measure, because obviously what's the cost going to be to have something sticking up? It can't be that expensive. So I'm going to go ahead. I already pre-took out, this does have the hood pins, so don't think that they don't. So it does come with the hood pins. I just took them out early so I could not have to deal with them on video. So let's go ahead and open this up. The doors are pretty easy because the windows are down. Here, so you can see the operation for opening it. It's pretty simple. Just some details from what we can see here is the trunk. Again, very accurately reproduced. The hinges are actually correct. Some people complain about dog legs on some other brands. This is actually period correct. So yes, the trunk back in the day had these dog legs. And, you know, to prove it, wait until you see the front hinges. So, again, all of these lines and things like that you see here, that is accurate. It has a decal right there, which again is very accurate. This car came with roll-down windows, so you have the mechanism there. Okay, the doors, which we will see in another view much closer, they have an effect of a grain that's on it, so it's not just a flat black, it actually has a nice texture to it. The wooden steering wheel looks very good, very accurate. So let's go ahead and get to a side view, and we'll start with the trunk. And what you can see here is and this is accurate. A lot of muscle cars in the 70s did not have carpeting in the back. They had this vinyl mat that sat there, so that is actually correct. You have your jack that's on the side there, and then your other components for your spare tire, should you ever need to change it, if you have a flat. The seat belts are very accurate. They are cloth seat belts, which is really nice. That is definitely a nice touch. And you can see that it has the photo etched buckles as well. You have your shifter there. The console itself, I was really surprised that that is a decal that was just laid across there. Pretty sure there possibly is a better way to do that, but it's pretty obvious that's a decal. It's the brown is supposed to be wood grain, by the way, if you didn't know. Interesting. Something that I thought was really a nice touch is that it's here. It's the glove box, and it does open and close. So I'm just going to close it there for you. You have your nice little plaque there, just a print on it. As I mentioned, the door cards have a nice texture, very accurate to the real thing again. Moving on to the other side. There, you can get a better view of that trim that I was referring to. Wooden steering wheel. It's simulated pretty darn good. You have your pedals there, which again are accurately reproduced. That's exactly, and I remember it because, well, I'm aging myself, but I do remember these cars. And yes, so the pedals are very accurate. The rubber floor mat is also accurate. There's flocking down here. The only thing that's interesting is that and this entire bottom here is flat. Just like with most cars, you know, you get in, it dips down. There is no dip here. It's flat all the way across. Interesting. It even has the seat belts with the photo etched buckles in the back. The seats are very well done. They give a sense of softness. There's definitely textures there. So that's pretty accurate as well. Since we're closer now, just show you that trim again, which again goes all the way across. It's very nicely done. If you're wondering, I thought about it myself, there are wipers. When the hood is down, the wipers actually hide behind here. So you can actually see them right there. So they're not missing. You have your vents there. And the engine, oh my goodness. The engine detail is outstanding. The thing about muscle cars, 70s muscle cars, was that the engine bays were not cluttered with a bunch of wiring and hoses and things like that. And that's because they didn't use as much electronics as we have today. The other thing is that, and I don't know if this is a cost-cutting measure, it probably is, but many of the track-focused cars would not have air conditioning. So as you can see, there's no air conditioning there, because if there was, there would be a belt and a pulley right there, and that's not there. To go further in, there is a belt and a pulley for the alternator. That's what I was thinking of. So, but the HEMI orange is correct. So if you didn't know that, the orange paint was always applied to the HEMI motors, and that's what it's called, HEMI orange. The shaker, which is what this is called, so the shaker scoop that you see here, that was functional. So it did fit atop the motor, and it did draw in air. From my understanding, it didn't increase horsepower that much. This one, it has vents here, but it's not perforated. That would have been a very, very nice touch if it was, but it's not. And I wanted to again talk about those hinges. Look at the hinge work on this. That is... Looking at that, you have confidence that you don't have to ever worry about those hinges ever breaking on you. It even has a spring there. That is very nice. Very nicely detailed. That's an engine you'd be proud of. And the thing with muscle cars from the 70s is that it was very important that if you're going to produce a model of a muscle car, that you have the engine be very accurate. Because real muscle cars, those people who have them, most of the time when they're parked, especially if they're at a car show, it could be a friend's house, it could be at a park, you best believe that hood is going to be open to show off that motor, especially if it has the infamous HEMI motor in it. So, thus the great job with the engine detail. Now let's move on to the top view. Just looking at the top view of the model, the one thing I wanted to point out is I really enjoy when you have, I call them not necessarily needed details. These would be these small little things that you probably wouldn't think about unless, of course, they're there. And the one that I wanted to point out specifically was, as I mentioned, this is a vinyl top. Okay, so this is a reproduced vinyl top for this model. And there was, when these are placed on the top of these vehicles, there is a protrusion of a seam that you should be able to see. And if you look closely, it's there. You can see the seams on both sides. I always like to say this. They didn't have to do that, but they did. I just think that's really nice. It's a nice little fine detail that, again, they didn't have to do that, but they did. Just look at that finish again. It's really nicely done. It's definitely sprayed with some really good clear coat. So yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Let's just give it one more look. This again is a 1971 Plymouth Barracuda HEMI Super Track Pack. And now to my conclusions.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that review of the 1971 Plymouth Barracuda HEMI Super Track Pack by Acme Models. After reviewing this model, it really had me thinking, so I showed this model to my daughter and two of my friends. And I asked them, how much do you think this model retails for? Well, my daughter said $200 US. One buddy said $225, the other said $250. This model retails for $149 US. $149. When you take in consideration the overall presentation, the detail, the materials used, the quality of the paint, $149 is a bargain. Which begs the question, how is Acme able to do this? Well, Acme actually acquired a company called GMP well over 10 years ago. Now, GMP was well known for their 60s and 70s muscle cars as well as their sports cars. They're also known for their iconic 112 GT40. So again, Acme actually acquired GMP and continued where they left off. Well, that tooling has been used over and over so many times, it's dropped down the cost of producing these models. In other words, economies of scale. So that's why the pricing is where it is. Which also begs the question, how come there are other companies who have produced zinc die-cast models in the past or still do, and they do reissues, why their prices hasn't come down? Because that tooling is pretty old as well. Just something to think about. I want to thank a good friend, Steve, for allowing me to use this model. If you are interested in this, I do know a good retailer, a trusted one that can offer it to you as well. And I appreciate your time for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. That is the only way I'm going to know that you're enjoying these videos. And I'll see you next time.